Hello traders, good day to you all. Today is the 3rd of December 2013. This is Tom Lewis from Opteck, and this is a daily market review for the current market status. As you can see, I said yesterday that we're expecting to see a pretty liquidized market because we had several announcements already from the beginning of the week on Monday, and today we had several announcements as well. Basically, from this moment and on, I'm not expecting to see a lot of changes occurring on the charts because, as you can see, we've already been through the entire liquidized announcements, and at the moment we've got several very weak potential announcements. But again, the market in the United States will begin to operate, then the dollar will be affected from what we're expecting to see on the United States. At the moment, I've tested the indices in the United States, and it seems like the United States is expected to open with a downtrend movement, meaning a weaker economy, and that is the expectation at the moment. Let's see how it'll begin to operate. Generally, the market itself in the United States is producing low amount of liquidity because of the holidays, because a lot of traders are in a vacation. Not only the private traders but also the commercial traders, and we will see that on the chart. I'm expecting a lot of investors to pull their funds out of the market, expressing their fear from an ongoing corrective pattern that will draw all the indices lower, and we may see some weakness until Friday, when we will receive the announcement regarding the non-farm payroll. So generally today we've got expected low liquidity in the markets, but again, because we already had some liquidity formations are forming on the charts, and we can base our opinion according to that specific structure. So generally we can be very calm with the idea of not receiving any kind of spikes or something different in the market, and we can rely on our analysis without the fear of some announcement that will change the course of the charts. If you see something is going on the charts, all of a sudden you can read it all over here. The latest news, sometimes we've got news that aren't expected, aren't located on the calendar itself, just as this one, for example. 12 minutes ago we've received an announcement from the UK. If you see some sort of movement, you can read all about it over here, but again, the announcement that we can wait and attend to according to the calendar. Let's go to the chart and let's see what we've got for today. So looking at today's charts, we can say that during the night time, the Japanese yen lost strength in the market. We can see that since this morning it gained strength, and we can say that generally we've received an impulse movement climbing up, and to generally count it, we can say that the market completed a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 waves climbing up. Obviously, to understand exactly where we're at in the larger cycle, we will need to zoom out a bit more to understand the entire perspective, not only this 5 waves, but also the entire uptrend movement. In order for me to do that, I'll go to an hourly chart, and we can see that generally the uptrend movement is very, very long. Now, looking at the larger trend, let me add the Elliott wave instrument so that I'll be able to differentiate between different structures. And here I'll need a larger time frame. Okay, so according to the indication that we've received over here, the different spikes, I'm willing to say that we had a general first uptrend and a downtrend corrective pattern. From this moment we began to climb up in the third wave, and in the inner cycle of the third wave we've completed the first uptrend, the second downtrend. We're forming the third uptrend movement, expected to drop down and then to climb up to complete the third wave before another drop down and another uptrend to complete the entire 5 wave cycle. So generally, right now, on a 15-minute chart, I can say that the expectation from the Japanese yen currencies is to drop down. Now, how can we join a movement that we've analyzed as a downtrend movement for the next several hours? We can see that generally this morning we had a downtrend in 5 waves as well. Let me go to 5-minute chart and I'll show you that. Again, a very nice image of Elliott wave, a 1, a 2. Since here we began the third wave, which is a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. I'm expecting this chart to climb up till here. Then we will have a downtrend movement to complete the third wave, another uptrend and another downtrend movement to complete the 5th wave. So we've got two potential trades coming up ahead on the dollar versus Japanese yen. Obviously, that wouldn't be the potential asset, the combination that I would like to use, because I will look for the weakest currency to express the strength of the Japanese yen. So as I said, during the night time, we've received a weaker Japanese yen, but since the European market began to operate, we can see that generally the Japanese yen is gaining strength, and we can see that on markets themselves as well. The DAX, the CAC, the stocks themselves, they fall down a bit, and we can see that clearly in front of the Japanese yen as well. So a logical structure that we're expecting to see is a completion of 5 waves dropping down, a completion of ABC climbing up, and another downtrend that will follow approximately till this rate. This will be a logical pullback that we're expecting to see, and from this moment and beyond, I'm expecting the market to continue its uptrend movement because we've analyzed the larger cycle, potentially climbing up in front of the weaker Japanese yen in the market. Combined with the idea of announcements, I've analyzed that yesterday, but if we will pay attention to Wednesday, we can see that we've got a variety of announcements coming up on Wednesday. At the beginning of the US market and the Canadian market, we've got several announcements both on the dollar and the Canadian dollar, and that will deliver the potential that I can see. So logically, my analysis is aiming toward a downtrend movement on the dollar versus Japanese yen and generally on the Japanese yen currencies to gain strength. And my expectation is that we will have a continuance of a movement until tomorrow we'll receive an additional information regarding the US market and the Canadian market, and only then the market will diverge. That's the potential from the announcements. Now, let's go and see if we've got some potential on several currencies. First of all, we will logically organize the currencies according to strength and weakness. We can say that the New Zealand is the strongest currency. We can say that the Swiss franc and the pound are second in line, approximately the same strength. We can say that the Australian dollar is approximately at the same strength of the Japanese yen, and the dollar and the Canadian dollar present the lowest strength in the market. So we've divided currencies to 3 groups. The strong group, New Zealand, and maybe the Swiss franc can join toward that perspective. Pound, Australian dollar, and Japanese yen, and even the euro are the middle group, not so strong and not too weak. The Canadian dollar and the US dollar are among the weakest currencies, and indeed the downtrend potential will form a good potential trade on the dollar versus Japanese yen, as I've stated before. Another great structure is forming on the dollar versus the Canadian dollar. Now, although we can't trade the dollar versus the Canadian dollar on our platform, still we can receive an additional confirmation for our analysis from this structure. In this case, we can see a formation of a 1, a 2, a drop down of 3, an uptrend of 4, an expected downtrend movement as well. So both dollar and Canadian dollar, once they'll express the potential for a downtrend, we will be able to join that specific movement with an additional confirmation from both currencies. Generally, I'm expecting other currencies to fall down in front of the Japanese yen as well, but just not at the same strength as the Canadian dollar and the US dollar. Let's go to other charts and let's see what we've got coming up. We will analyze the on-demand instruments and then we will go over the commodities. The Australian dollar and the New Zealand. We saw that the New Zealand is stronger than the Australian dollar. Not so strong, but approximately 4 digits if I'm not mistaken. We can see that the downtrend movement is that specific relationship with the Australian dollar and the New Zealand, meaning expressing a stronger New Zealand in the market. The RSI is in a great position in this case. Just a pullback on the stochastic will allow us to join a downtrend movement on this chart. At the moment, nothing over there. Australian dollar in front of the euro, approximately the same strength. We can see that straight ahead from the position of the RSI. An uptrend movement was located on the Australian dollar and the US dollar. We know that the US dollar is among the weakest currencies. The stochastic did not fall enough and the RSI wasn't high enough for us to participate in that one, but a continuance of that movement is expected. Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Again, as I said, that the Japanese yen is expected to deliver an additional strength. We will need to reanalyze this structure further on to see what is the potential, because while the dollar may lose strength in front of the Japanese yen, the Australian dollar that completed an A, B, and C pattern seems to have developed a relationship with the Japanese yen that can deliver an uptrend movement, but we will need to analyze that. As you can see, both of them are approximately the same strength right now. It's not logical to trade on this asset, but stay tuned to reanalyze this chart. Once we'll cross the trend line of the entire corrective pattern, that will allow us to understand whether the market in front of the Australian dollar, Japanese yen in front of the Australian dollar, is indeed expressing an additional strength, and we will be able to follow that. Obviously, once the market will climb up and cross the trend line, then the RSI will be in a position to trade on this asset. At the moment, do not trade on the Australian dollar in front of the Japanese yen. Australian dollar, sorry, euro in front of the Japanese yen. Again, we can see that all currencies at the moment are gaining strength in front of the Japanese yen, but the question is, what is our expectation later on? And we've stated that the expectation is a continuance of a stronger Japanese yen. So at the moment, I would leave the Japanese yen currencies alone until we will see a very clear formation of a corrective pattern that will complete the structure, and then we'll be able to rely on indication with the confidence that we need. Euro versus the Australian dollar, logically it's climbing up. We said that the euro is stronger than the dollar. At the moment it's reached a specific support and resistance line. It seems like the market should bounce below it. My expectation, because we're witnessing some formation that looks logically when we'll try to separate that to 5 waves, I will expect this chart to drop down till here, 1.356, and then climb back up again. Then we'll receive the indication from the stochastic. The RSI will stay above, and we will be able to join this uptrend potential. At the moment, we can't really join an already going movement. Gold and silver. We said that both Japanese yen should gain strength and the dollar should lose strength, and because of that, my expectation from the gold, because we've analyzed the structure and I gave my perspective from the beginning of the week that I see a potential for a weaker gold in the market. It seems like we've completed a 1, a 2, a third wave of a downtrend movement, an uptrend of an A, a choppy B that will drop down till here, and an uptrend of a C is expected to climb till this area. Now, specifically on the gold, I do see potential to trade. We said that at the moment we're expecting the dollar to gain strength in front of the Japanese yen. My expectation is that we will see an indication on this chart as well. A downtrend movement beyond this trend line will indicate that indeed we've got a potential trade. The stochastic in this case is up, showing us the exhaustion level of the gold. The RSI is at 44. That's a great potential for a downtrend movement. Although I'm expecting the gold to continue its movement sideways, a bit of an uptrend, a bit of a downtrend, that will be a logical move that we can catch because, as you can see, once the gold is crossing specific lines, such as this one, this trend line below, this entire corrective pattern across below kept the entire asset lower than the entry point for several hours. So we can rely on this potential movement. My expectation generally from the gold and the silver is to form a sideways corrective pattern, and until tomorrow we won't see a significant movement. That is the expectation. Once we'll receive the announcement regarding the dollar and the Canadian dollar, it'll change the perspective regarding the gold specifically. The silver is forming a stronger movement higher. In this case, we can see that we've climbed in 5 waves. That's a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. We've received the A wave completion over here, an A pattern dropping down, a B pattern climbing up, and a C pattern dropping down is expected, and then we will climb back up again before we'll see an additional downtrend movement tomorrow because of the announcement. That is the expectation from the chart, and the silver is expected to drop down at the moment a bit. Another good potential, again, this is a 5-minute chart, a 15-minute chart. I think that, yeah, will reveal approximately the same potential as the gold. A stochastic at the top, RSI at the bottom. Good potential for a downtrend movement. Generally looking at the same structure as we did on the gold. A 1 dropping down, a 2 climbing up, a 3 dropping down, a 4 climbing up. And right now forming, my opinion is that it's forming this entire movement lower completed the 3rd wave. Right now we're forming the 4th, and we will see a downtrend after the announcements tomorrow that will continue the perspective of the dollar, will reflect the same perspective of the dollar and the gold. Euro versus the Canadian dollar. 15-minute chart, it's a good potential for an uptrend. Stochastic did not give us a downtrend movement until the exhausted level. This is why I'm a bit concerned trading this uptrend potential, although the RSI is pretty high, and obviously the last time that we had across approximately the same area, we saw that that was enough in terms of exhaustion. And beside that, we said that the euro is indicating 49, and the Canadian dollar is indicating 46. Now, it's stronger than the Canadian dollar, no question about that, but the question that we need to ask ourselves is whether we've got a better potential on other charts. In this case, the Swiss franc in front of the US dollar will be a good potential. Let's look at this chart. The weakest in front of the strongest. Always remember that's the best potential that we can find, and indeed you can see that the downtrend movement is very clean, very clear. In this case, I would even go down to 5-minute charts. Every pullback, that's a good entry point for a continuance of a downtrend movement. I remind you, we don't have this asset on the on-demand instruments. We do have it on the high and low. Usually it's an option for 1 hour, and if you join a trade on the high and low using the dollar Swiss franc for a downtrend movement after you receive a pullback and a cross with the stochastic, then you can join an option if you will receive approximately half an hour, 40 minutes. That will be logical participant in this specific asset. That is it for today. I wish you all the best with your trades. You can see that the dollar versus the South African rand has reached another potential over here, just as we had over here. It's basically a reflection of the euro versus the Canadian dollar in this case. A very nice image of exhaustion level, RSI at the top. Another one we've got over here, RSI at the top. In this case, I will go to 5 minutes to draw an accurate trend line above this corrective pattern, so that I'll be able to join this movement. In this case, you can see that the trend line above the entire corrective pattern is over here. Across beyond that will state that we're approaching an uptrend potential. Again, you've got this asset on the high and low instrument on our platform. If you have between 30 minutes to 1 hour trade for an uptrend while we'll close above the trend line, then that will be a great indication for you to catch an uptrend. Thank you. Have a pleasant day and bye bye.